Most retirees think the cost of required minimum distributions is just taxes, but there's a second cost that blindsides people, and it can feel like a penalty for saving too well. Here's the scary part. You can do everything right, hit retirement with a strong nest egg, and then wake up one day to find a Medicare bill that's thousands of dollars higher for the exact same coverage. In a minute, I'll show you exactly how that happens and 2 simple planning strategies that you can use to easily prevent it. We'll also be walking through an RMD calculator that I created, and I like to give it away for free if you like it. So if you want a copy, you can just click the link in the description and click the drop down and save a copy because it's view only, so that you have your own personal sheet that you can edit and save. So let's talk about our couple today, Tom and Karen. Both 62 years old, recently retired, healthy, active, and finally ready to enjoy the go-go years of retirement. They did everything right for decades, maxed out their pre-tax retirement plans, invested consistently, and avoided a lifestyle creep. Now they're sitting on about $3.6 million in traditional 401ks and IRA monies, and roughly $450,000 in their taxable account. Their goal is simple, to spend about $120,000 per year in the early part of retirement while they're still young, traveling, playing golf, and seeing their grandkids. Then they plan to slow down later on in retirement. Here's where the financial plan looks great on paper, but it starts to create problems later on in their plan. Because Tom and Karen don't want to pay unnecessary taxes, the default move is to live mostly off taxable account early and keep their IRA accounts and withdrawals from them very low, if any at all. That feels smart today, and it's the general advice that you've probably even be given yourself. But if that $3.6 million earns a reasonable long-term average return, say on average 5% over the years, and they mostly leave it alone, then the pre-tax pile can grow into something like $6.1 million by the time they hit age 73, when RMDs start for many retirees. And at that point, the IRS shows up and says, great, now it's time to take your required withdrawals. Now, the RMD formula is quite simple, right? It's last year's December 31st balance of all your IRAs and your 401k accounts, but those are taken separately. And then you divide that by a life expectancy factor from the IRS Uniform Life Table. At age 73, the divisor is 26.5. So if Tom and Karen's traditional balance is around $6.1 million, then their first RMD is roughly going to be around $232,000. Also, we have to inflate their spending, right? So it's no longer $120,000 like they said today, indexed for 3% inflation over 11 years, so looking at closer to $165,000. Yet their forced taxable distributions, like we just mentioned, is $232,000. And that's before their combined Social Security income of $70,000 and some investment income from the taxable account of what's left. Just on the RMDs alone, they're being pushed to take roughly $67,000 more than they actually need to live on. Money that they'll likely just reinvest in a taxable account after paying taxes on it because they don't want to or need to spend it. And this is a setup for the hidden costs that nobody talks about when it comes to larger pre-tax balances. Most people hear RMDs and they think, oh boy, taxes. But the secret cost isn't just the tax bill, it's what that inflated income can do to Medicare through IRMAA, which is the income-related surcharge added to your Medicare premiums. And it can feel especially unfair because Tom and Karen didn't suddenly get a raise or start making more money. They just got forced into a larger distribution than they originally wanted to, and now they have to pay more tax because of it. So let's fast forward to age 73. If their first RMD, like we said, was $232,000, their gross income stack can easily land around $302,000, as you can see in this picture, once you start combining all their other income sources. You don't need the perfect tax return math to understand that this is going to be a problem, because once you cross certain income lines, for Medicare specifically, your premiums can really jump because of the IRMAA surcharges. And here's the part that makes it feel hidden, right? Those surcharges use a 2-year look back, meaning the income that triggers the higher premium often happen years before the higher premium actually shows up as a bill. So Tom and Karen can have a large RMD year and then later wonder, why did Medicare get so much more expensive? Now, here's what that expensive can really look like in a real IRMAA tier. Just looking at the brackets for 2026, one of the middle IRMAA tiers shows a total Part B premium of $405.80 per month per person. And that's the total premium, not just the surcharge. Plus a Part D IRMAA add-on, which is about $37.50 per month per person. Since the standard Part B premium in 2026 is $202.90, the Part B surcharge for this particular tier is actually the exact same as the premium, So the surcharge is $202.90 per person per month. Then you add in that Part D IRMAA premium as well, like we just discussed. All in, the IRMAA surcharges alone are $240.40 per person per month. That's about $2,885 per year for each of them, or roughly $5,700 per year for the couple, not counting the base premiums that they'd have to pay anyways. It's no wonder people get nervous about RMDs in retirement and the waterfall effect of taxes and Medicare surcharges that can come along with it. So what do you do if you're looking at a plan like this, where future RMDs are clearly going to be higher than your average annual spending? Well, the good news is you have options, and the right answer depends on the trade-off and what you care about most, right? Is it reducing future forced income? Is it controlling your Medicare and ACA marketplace costs? Or is it maximizing your spending earlier in your retirement when you're healthier and younger? So let's just walk through two different paths with clean numbers, make it simple, using the exact same couple. So you can see kind of how a plan can change based on really what you're trying to solve for and what you're comfortable with. Path A is a multi-year Roth conversion plan designed to shrink the future RMD tax bomb that they're going to inherit. So instead of letting the entire $3.6 million compound untouched, like conventional advice might say, Tom and Karen are going to systematically move money from their traditional IRA bucket into a Roth bucket over multiple years. So for this example, we're going to say starting at age 65 and continuing through age 72, they convert $150,000 per year for 8 years, about $1.2 million shifted out of future RMDs. Now, this does two things at once. It reduces the size of their pre-tax accounts that are going to generate the RMDs in the first place, and it builds a Roth bucket that they can later tap into without stacking more taxable income on top of the RMDs. Now, in the simplified projection, as you can see here, doing these conversions reduces the projected traditional pre-tax balance at age 73 from about $6.1 million down to $4.6 million. Now, let's rerun the same simple RMD estimate, and we can see here that the first year RMD is expected to be about $174,000. Now, that's still a very meaningful distribution, but it's roughly $56,000 less than the baseline for the first RMD. And the reduction matters because you're not just lowering taxes on that income, you're potentially lowering the income stack that might push you into higher Medicare premium tiers, that IRMAA like we talked about, which we can see here. It actually shows that it could save them a couple $1,000s just dropping down a tier or two in the IRMAA surcharge brackets for Tom and Karen. Now, there is an important warning label here. Roth conversions raise taxable income in the year that you do them, right? So naturally, you want to do them earlier in retirement if you can, when you have, less guaranteed and fixed income sources turned on, such as Social Security or maybe even a pension if it doesn't start till 65 and you retire before 65. I'm not saying to convert everything here all at once or all in 1 year. Even $150,000 can be quite a sizable conversion for a lot of people. But I think the idea is that we're saying convert strategically. Eric Amzalag, founder of Peak Financial Planning, and myself, we call these kind of micro Roth conversions. This needs to be thought of as a multi-year plan that aims to keep you within a target range, especially because Medicare uses a look back, right? So you don't want to accidentally, try to solve one tax problem and then find yourself in creating another massive tax problem either earlier on in retirement or in the middle of retirement. So that's what we want to avoid. I've done a lot of videos where we talk about our philosophy and our thought process on Roth conversions, and in fact that it shouldn't be about the amount you convert realistically. It should more be about the amount of tax that you're willing to pay. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the conversion. It's about how much tax does that generate, and is your portfolio able to sustain your lifestyle expenses and the tax from the conversion. So now let's switch gears here and talk about Path B, which is candidly a more simple approach, and it's going to focus on early retirement years, and it keeps things very steady. So for Tom and Karen, they're going to take out about $80,000 per year from their IRA from age 62 to age 72, just for simplicity's sake. And then they're going to use the taxable account that they have to supplement their spending. Now, the reason this is more realistic than it sounds is that the taxable account isn't frozen in time. There's actually going to be some growth, dividends, and interest. So it can act as a buffer account for longer than some people might assume, when it's only supplementing expenses and not being spent down in the first, couple years if it's solely carrying all of your retirement costs. The bigger idea is what this does to your taxes and your healthcare, right? clearly $150,000 Roth conversion is quite a large Roth conversion. It's going to push Tom and Karen into a pretty high bracket, and there are going to be some supplemental taxes that come along with that. Here, we're intentionally paying some tax on purpose in years when, they can stay mostly in the lower brackets, but we're not doing these huge conversions. And the key is being able to keep your income low, especially before Medicare, when maybe there's the ACA marketplace, that you're trying to preserve the affordability of those credits for you. We can be a little bit more strategic rather than creating big income spikes that kind of lose those subsidies that we're talking about. Let's go ahead and quantify the RMD impact of Path B with the same assumptions we used earlier, right? So it's going to be 5% growth. Withdrawals will be at year end. And just as a recap, the do nothing scenario ends with pre-tax account balances of $6.1 million at age 73. So let's say they withdraw $80,000 per year for 11 years, from age 62 to age 72. Those withdrawals are going to reduce the age 73 balance for their pre-tax accounts by the future value of the stream by about, I think it's $1.14 million, as you can see here on the screen. And the reason I chose $80,000, by the way, is staying under the 400% of the federal poverty line. If they are trying to qualify for subsidies through the ACA marketplace, that's why we picked that number. Then we just continued it up till RMD age for simplicity's sake. So that means that their IRA pre-tax balances at 73 would be about $4.96 million. So their first RMD becomes roughly $187,000. So it's about $43,000 less in RMD in year one than the base plan. The practical benefit of this approach is that Tom and Karen get a smoother income plan. They're more tax conscious than just doing huge Roth conversions, which is an issue we see, unfortunately, nowadays. And they're going to have less forced income in their RMD age later on, and a lower chance of tripping into a higher IRMAA tiers once Medicare starts, because their baseline RMD is going to be smaller. It's really about balancing, but it's also about trying to find a plan that works for Tom and Karen and that they're comfortable with. Some people just aren't comfortable doing huge Roth conversions and paying all this tax early on in retirement, especially if that's going to eat into their lifestyle expenses, which we never think is a proper trade-off. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, but what if my RMD is still going to be large or higher no matter what, and it's above my spending capacity? There is a third lever that's shockingly underused, I think, and that's going to be QCDs, or qualified charitable distributions. So if you're charitably inclined, which is important, right? Once you're 70 and a half, you can send money directly from your IRA to a qualified 501c3 charity, and that amount can be excluded from your taxable income. In your RMD years, the QCDs can be used to satisfy your RMD for that year, which is one of the cleanest way to reduce income on your tax return, because IRMAA is driven by your taxable income. So that can help reduce the odds of you getting pushed into a higher Medicare premium, and you get to support the charities that you love. So it's really a win-win. So if Tom and Karen do nothing and they let their traditional IRA and pre-tax balances compound, the first RMD is going to be about $232,000 with our projections, which is far above their inflation-adjusted spending. And not to mention, it's going to push them into higher Medicare surcharge territory. And you stack that on with their Social Security, which will be taxable up to 85%. And you can start to see how this can become quite a tax issue when you have large pre-tax balances. And that's really the takeaway of this video. So now, if they would like, they can execute a disciplined conversion plan strategy, like we talked about, where they convert maybe $150,000 from 65 to 72. And that might reduce their RMD down to about $174,000, which is much more manageable, especially with the rest of their income stack, and often a better position for both taxes and Medicare premiums. Now, obviously, those are some large conversions. So if they instead wanted to focus on more steady withdrawals earlier on in retirement, taking the $80,000 from their pre-tax balances and then using their taxable account to supplement their spending, their first RMD might only drop to around $187,000. But again, they've made early retirement much more enjoyable, much smoother income ride, and their predictability with their RMD income still dropped significantly. So it is kind of a win-win on both fronts there. Now, if this kind of financial planning appeals to you, and the focus and the detail on tax planning and how it interrelates with your investments and your healthcare and your lifestyle spending, and you want to see what does this actually look like for my own situation, my own life, I'd highly encourage you to click the link in the description or just scan the QR code on the screen and you can schedule a call with my team. I hope you found value in today's video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.